Shift and Steer. We're back again this week. And as you can see, if you're watching our Facebook page, that is, we have Bogi with us from All Girls Garage. She's got her own shop in Arizona. And, you know, we're going to have some great stuff to talk about today. I've also found...
I can imagine what that's going to be. Sorry, guys. We're having a little deja vu moment. We're having a little deja vu moment. We're going to go ahead and just tell you what happened.
Was that a bird that hit the window? Well-prepared show because we did a fantastic pre-interview with Bogi today. So,
yeah.
Hey, Matt, why don't you tell us who's bringing us the show today?
Yeah, before we get started, we want to say thanks to our friends at Geico. Though we're apart these days, we are sharing more, and Geico would just like to say thanks for that. Thanks for sharing all your great videos, your car videos, your pet videos, your savage dance moves, your DIY haircuts, all the crazy stuff you guys have been posting. And it's Geico's turn to share as well. They're doing the Geico Give Back. This is a 15% credit on car and motorcycle policies for both current and new customers. And because Geico is committed for the long haul, the 15% credit lasts your full policy term. So visit geico.com/giveback for more info. It's geico.com/giveback.
I'm glad we're doing a redo because I sneezed on the last one and that
you did
totally misconstrued, you know.
And you had rat fingers, which was weird.
Did have rat fingers.
Yeah, it still stinks in here, by the way.
They're at the rat nest. I know you call it Rat Runner's Garage. Maybe it's Rat Nest Garage.
It's going to be called Deer Mouse Garage. Okay.
Hey, can you guys see
little
up
gray
in the corner,
bastard.
on your end? Is there a recording up in the corner? Does it say?
Says it's recording.
Yes.
Oh,
Good.
yes.
I'm just
I don't know if
checking.
that's
I'm just a professional and want to make sure all the.
I don't know if that's a bluff or not.
Hey, Brad, do us all a favor. Wear your glasses.
Maybe never mind. Take them off.
I know, right? He's so stuck in it.
I've got a little bit of news for you guys. A little bit of news. I want to get your thoughts on this before we get started. Mixing things up from the last for the pre-run show is the new rules for Formula One. They're capping the budgets at $145 million per team, which that sounds like a crazy number. But for some of the main teams like Ferrari, that's half their budget. Right. So Ferrari is scrambling to come up with ways to reduce costs, but they don't want to do it by laying people off. Nice. So Ferrari has been meeting. It's a weird cart going by.
Ferrari has gone to plastic.
Has been meeting with Roger Penske, the new owner of Indy, saying, hey, would Ferrari be welcome in the IndyCar series as a third supplier of engines and I guess vehicles or whatever? We have Honda and Chevrolet right now. What if they welcome more manufacturers? Ferrari's very interested. So Ferrari's trying to tell their people, hey, if a deal like this makes sense, then not everybody at Ferrari Racing would work on F1, but you would all have a job. And then we would have both the F1 and the IndyCar team.
Diversify.
Yeah. So, I mean, we have Honda, we have Chevrolet already. Both of those teams have been both of those technologies have been very competitive. What do you guys think about Ferrari joining Indy?
That would be interesting.
It would be interesting.
Could you imagine going to the Indy 500 and getting cannoli? That would be good. I like cannoli.
Yeah. It's always about cannoli with you.
Yeah, it really kind of is.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
It's always, you know, when Ferrari comes in, though, there's a whole new attitude. Because let's face it.
Yeah.
You guys, we've gone to their events. We love the guys at Ferrari. They've invited us to a lot of nice things. But there's just a different air about it than if you go to a Honda or a Chevy event. And so it would be interesting, but it would force everyone else to up their game as well in the technology department.
Now, what do you think about this? Although Honda isn't an American brand, it really kind of is. It's been here for a long time. Cars are built here. You know, we have, you know, their corporate teams, management, so much is here where Ferrari isn't. And does IndyCar feel too American for that
definitely.
for Ferrari.
It's almost like asking Ferrari to join NASCAR. You know,
Yeah.
it's a step up from NASCAR. Sorry, NASCAR. It's a step over.
Same as that.
Over from NASCAR.
And you know what? And I would say, Matt, that I'll bet you part of this came because of Penske. Penske brings a whole new game to Indy, a whole new way of doing it, and he's been so immersed in Formula One and all motorsports for so long. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe they should say, well, as long as you manufacture one of your cars here.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Ferrari's really in the business of being told what to do.
Their new van, they're coming out with that new Ferrari van.
They are going to have an SUV. We do know that. So that's going to be kind of interesting.
Based on the
Anyway,
Astro van.
Why not?
It's going to compete with the Lamborghini Uranus. I mean,
yeah.
Hey, you guys, I don't know if you heard about this, but I think the pandemic has definitely reached like goofy proportions at this point, because there was something in the news the other day out here, of course, San Bernardino, out in the Inland Empire, and there was some street racing going on out there. Now, we talk about street racing all the time. I've done my share of street racing. Of course, it was always, under a very specific terms. And
right, back when roads weren't even paved. So what are we talking about here?
Come on. They were gravel.
Dirt road racing.
The burnout was a pain in the ass on that gravel.
A horse and buggy doesn't count, Brad.
Yeah.
So what it was one of the drivers was in a Chevy Tahoe. The other was in
those are your people right there, by the way. Big block Chevy Tahoe. Those are your people.
Woo!
And the other was in a Buick Camry, which is your people.
Yeah.
So we're not talking like a super street race. We're not talking a twin turbocharged Fox body versus the ultimate winner, the Buick Grand National. But it was a street race because they told the police that they were bored from just sitting around, and things got heated and they decided to take it to the street. First problem was they'd been drinking. So they were all liquored up. The second problem was the competitors were a 26-year-old man, and he was racing his 54-year-old mother.
Who won?
Well, she lost because they had a car pull out in front of them. The sun clipped it, sent it spinning. She went to avoid it, so she must have been behind. And her and her 21-year-old passenger went into a tree, and she died on the scene. That's sad, but
that's super sad.
First of all, that's what they always say about street racing. You're endangering yourself and other people.
And others,
But it is. The son was arrested for driving under intoxication, street racing, and manslaughter. So he's charged with killing his mother in the street race, and he hasn't been released because of previous parole violations.
Wait, I have a question. Did the Camry that they hit, what happened to that person?
No injuries, and their car was damaged, it said.
So, no injuries.
Camry. Yeah.
But he's going to try to blame this all on the pandemic.
Oh, of course. Pandemic fever.
Pandemic does not mean insanity. Speaking of street racing,
just turn on the news and tell me there's no insanity going on.
Take that back. Retraction. Up here in Tahoe, we're having some event on Saturday. I haven't looked into it yet, but people are posting like drifting and all kinds of tuner cars. There is a Z car up here drifting on a course that's staged in the Mont Bleu parking lot. I guess there's something going on. I better look into it. Something's going on this Saturday. I'm driving to SoCal to drop off my daughter. She's going back to her mom's place, but I won't be here for it. But looks like Tahoe's waking up.
I'm going to get together for a little bit on Saturday. Pete Shaporis' son, Peter, who we all know, him and his mom decided to invite a few people over, bring hot rods, bring cars, for a little barbecue. And Peter texted me last night and he said, hey, it's going to be a little bigger than we thought. 80 people are showing up with cars. And and I said, this is a backyard barbecue? And he's like, yeah. So, but hey, it's car people. So we're going to.
Cool. Speaking of car people.
Yeah.
Car people right there.
Yes,
Hey,
yes.
Bogi,
We're all
what you got
pointing
back
at you. We're all pointing at you, Bogi. Bogi, season 9 of All Girls Garage. That's quite a haul. You've been there from the beginning. It's gotta be, you must still love it, right? You must still enjoy it, or you're contractually obligated to say so.
I do still love it. It's been really fun, and it changes all the time, right? Like every time we get a change of hosts, it's like a whole new show.
Yeah.
So it's
You and Faye are killing it.
Fun journey. What's that?
I said you and Faye are killing it. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
There has been some changes. Fill us in on who's going to be on this season.
Yeah, so Christy was with me since the beginning. So this is kind of like a big change for us. So she's no longer, she's focusing on some other stuff that she's got going on. And for the first time, the networks decided to keep it just 2. So it's just going to be Faye and myself. So we're not replacing Christy with anybody. We're hoping to have some guests on periodically, which will be really fun so that we can highlight other women in the industry and women in the industry. Aaron, very cute. I know you've got
safe
hair, but you'd make a hideous woman.
I would.
I love you, but you'd make a hideous woman.
I get it. It's okay.
I think that's awesome, especially since I'm sure they bumped your salary because it's only 2 now. You're probably making twice as much.
Totally.
Yeah, that totally is the way all of Hollywood works in most businesses.
No, we know that is not how things work.
What can you tell us about the new season? Is there anything, any new projects that are going on, or is there anything that you really wanted to do that you're going to be able to do now?
Not necessarily. I mean, we've always had a really great relationship with our production company, and they're very open to ideas. So anytime myself or any of the other hosts have had an idea, they're generally pretty open to making it happen. So
I said us.
I'm trying to convince them to let them bring my mash on set and do a little
Oh, totally.
mash.
Today we're going to bake bread. They look like a little toaster. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh my God. No, I mean, we've already started filming season 9, which is kind of cool. So we've already had like 7 episodes filmed. We had done a bunch of them before the pandemic shut everything down. So we actually just got started filming again last week, actually.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Where do you guys film it?
Florida.
Oh.
Florida? Really?
Yeah, I was
I
thinking.
know, I said the same thing a couple years ago.
So I live in
You guys are
Arizona and Faye is in Texas, and we both fly to Florida to film.
Of course, that makes all the sense. Yeah.
Totally. That's where our production company is.
Let's take you back to season 1 when you walked on for the first time. Was it intimidating, or what was the most intimidating thing about jumping on a show like that, especially All Girls Garage, which was totally a trend breaker. I mean, it was totally
right.
different.
It's so funny. I actually just recently rewatched just for funsies. I watched the very first episode, and I was like, oh my God, I was such a baby, and I was so nervous. It was just a whole new experience. Like I'm a mechanic by trade. I was a shop owner at the time, and TV was not my experience. I was not used to being in front of a camera. I never had any intention or aspirations or dreams of being a TV person. It just kind of happened. And so I was comfortable in front of the camera because I used to do car care class. I still do car care classes for women. And so I just pretended that the camera was my students. So I would just explain things to my students on the other side of the camera, and that was fine. But I was, at the time, I didn't know Christy and Jesse, who was my original co-host. I didn't know either of them beforehand. So we were just meeting. We were just getting to know each other, the whole studio life, all of that. That was crazy and weird. And I definitely could tell I was nervous. In that first episode, I was talking really, really, really fast. I was like, here's this thing. We've got this thing. It's really cool. Look at this thing. It's awesome. It was just like, oh. high-end energy. But I think the hardest thing, honestly, though, was getting used to the comments, like being in the public eye and hearing what people said about me and hearing because when I worked at the dealership, I got a lot of that. I got a lot of people being like, oh, I don't want her working on my car, or girls don't belong here, or coworkers or bosses or managers that weren't comfortable with me being a woman. But when I ran my own shop, I got really insulated from all of that, because nobody was coming in my shop who wasn't okay with having a woman work on their car, because they knew it was a woman-owned shop, right?
Yeah.
So I got really insulated from it. And then I show up on TV and I'm flooded again with you're too pretty, you can't be a real mechanic. You're not hot enough to be on TV. You're too fat. You can't possibly know what you're doing. Girls shouldn't work on cars. Get back to the kitchen. Make me a sandwich. Like all of the criticisms and all of the things that I
word bullies.
From. So it was tough.
I just don't understand the mentality of people, and much of what's going on in the world today. I can't relate to any of that. It's like women, men. What's the difference? The skills, as long as the skill set's there, it's the same. I mean,
I see a lot of it,
I can't relate to that.
And all of you weigh in if you agree. What I see a lot of it is because everyone suffers from it if you're anywhere in the media, and we see it because we have worked hard, every one of us, to do what we're doing. And the people that are jealous because they see that we're living a dream that maybe they want to, but they don't get off the couch to do it. And so they become a keyboard bully, and that's how they retaliate. It's a lot of it is jealousy, and a lot of it on top of that is the ingrained just our society of men should be here, women should be here, and
well, you can hide behind it, like online, YouTube especially is just riddled with terrible comments, and people think it's kind of funny to be mean, and we don't need that. But the point is you're fantastic at what you do. You've gone through the process and put the years in. Like anybody who's good at their job, even somebody who's super talented artist, like it still takes the time to do it. Like you got to put in the hours to do it. And you've done that. And let's talk a little bit about that. You were at BMW dealers. You were a mechanic at BMW dealers, but you started where?
So I started originally, I started at Universal Technical Institute, actually, and I got my...
That's right. Yeah.
What's that?
I said, that's right. I forgot about the UTI. Yeah.
I started there, got my undergrad, which is kind of what I call it, my undergrad degree in automotive, basic automotive technology. And then I went to the BMW STEP program. So I did 7 months with intense BMW learning. I worked for a dealership out in Long Island. And then I worked for a dealership in North Scottsdale, a Penske dealership, actually. And then after about 7 years working for BMW was when I quit and started my shop, 180 Degrees Automotive, that I owned for 13 years. It was a general repair shop. Started out doing mostly BMWs and European cars, and then it grew into everything else. And I started in my driveway, literally quit my job with $200 to my name. And I didn't even have a toolbox at the time, because Penske dealerships, they have built-in toolboxes. So you bring your own tools, but you have to use their toolbox. So I'd sold mine. So I wound up having to buy a Costco toolbox. I didn't have a garage in my old house, so my toolbox was in my living room. And it was me, tools,
proper
and my puppy dog, and 120 degree heat in the summers, and I'm working on cars in my driveway, and it was awful but wonderful. And I grew that from there into ultimately an 8-bay shop. Aaron got to see it.
Awesome. It was an awesome place.
It was a unique little shop. We had an art gallery in the lobby. Like, it was a goofy, fun, different sort of repair shop.
Empowering.
It was. I miss it. But I sold it a little over a year ago. because I was doing too much. And so that's where we are now. I'm focusing on the TV show and doing my new shop, and yeah.
So the new one's the Girl Gang Garage, right?
Gang Garage, yes.
It's mostly an educational center.
Yeah, so we're not a traditional shop. Girl Gang Garage is not open to, like, we don't do customers' cars. We don't, we're not open to the public, but we do classes and workshops. So those are all designed around giving women a chance to try things with their hands. Welding, fabrication, body work, paint work, engine rebuilding, basic maintenance, kind of the whole gamut. And it's all opportunities for low cost, low barrier of entry, for women to get a chance to try things that they might not get a chance to try elsewhere in their life, And then we do the all-female builds there. So the Chevy Montage, which I think all of you got to see at SEMA, High Yellow, which was there last year, and our current all-female build. There are these crazy ground-up all-female builds that we do. We bring together women volunteers from all over the country, from 0 experience to 20 years of experience. And we work together and we figure out together and we teach each other and build a car from the ground up.
Tell us more about the demographics. The age group of women, the experience of women. Is it a paid program? Do you have partners and sponsors?
I have a business partner, and then I have a couple of really wonderful sponsors that have worked with us over the years. We definitely could always use more support. This is mostly a labor of love and passion project. We don't get paid for this, and we don't charge for it either. So it's all volunteer. The women who come and participate in the build, it's volunteer. Everybody's getting something out of it. The women who participate, who have experience in the industry, they're getting the experience of working with other women, right? Like, they often in our lives, we don't meet other women like us. We don't ever work with another woman. So it's this opportunity to be like, oh my God, there's somebody else like me out there in the world. This is amazing. Mm-hmm. And for the newbies, they're coming in, getting the opportunity to learn from some really experienced, really amazing women in a non-judgmental, non-threatening, really safe environment. So it's all volunteer, no money's involved really. It's just a community experience. And then the experience level it's literally from, I don't know what a ratchet is, to I've been doing custom paint for my whole life, right? Like, there's everything in between. Yeah.
And there's no cost for the classes as well? The
classes, there is a charge for, but we keep it really low. So we're talking like $20 for most, and 20 to I think 200 is kind of like the most expensive, and that's when there's lots of supplies, like a paint class or something like that.
What's the average age of the women that come by for your classes and your builds?
Everywhere from the youngest we've had is 8 years old, and the oldest is late 70s, and everything in between. I would say like the two main like chunks of demographics are kind of late 20s, early 30s age. And then there's the like 50s, 60s. I'm mature, I'm older. I've always wanted to do this. I've never had the chance. And I'm, gosh darn it, I'm going to do it. Right.
Yeah.
What kind of car did an 8-year-old show up in?
Was it motorized?
Barbie car, or Power Wheels.
Hey, now that's
how many
Power Wheels.
Don't go there, Brad.
How many people are in each class? Is there sort of a limit, and are they ongoing, or do people sign up on your website at a certain time and then everything starts like in a June or whatever? Like, what's sort of the
right now everything's
process?
Right, like right now nothing's happening because we're not bringing people in from all over the country right now. But the classes are separate from the build. So the build is kind of ongoing, and people sign up and they raise their hand and they work with a woman on my team who helps schedule them and figure out, because we don't want too many people in the shop at once.
Right, and that's the volunteer builds, and you only do like one big project at a time.
Totally, we'll have like 5 or 6 people out at a time.
Yeah.
Working together to do stuff. The classes, it depends on what we're teaching. If I'm doing a basic car care class, I generally cap it at like 10 people. If we're doing an engine rebuilding class, it's probably only going to be like 6. So it really depends on what we're doing to to determine how many people we can accommodate. And then those classes, we try to do like 1 or 2 a month of various topics. And we're trying to ramp that up and do some more different, trying to get creative with other things that we can offer, whether it's online classes or whatnot, but trying to be able to do more with less.
Yeah.
You know, finite.
I'm curious where the girls go from here. Like what's their interest? Is it muscle cars, classic cars, JDMs,
Yes.
motorcycles? You know, it's
all of the
above. All right.
All of the above. And honestly, Aaron, like some people who, a lot of our newbies, like the folks who haven't done anything previously, some will get their hands dirty and try this experience and then never do it again. And that's okay, right? They tried it. They're like, this was cool, but I don't need to do it again. Others, like perfect example is my current business partner. She was a newbie on the Chevy Montage. She'd never worked on cars before. She got so into it that she bought her own 56 Chevy pickup truck.
Oh, too cool.
And was so invested that she wound up becoming my business partner. And her truck that she bought is actually high yellow that was at SEMA last year.
Wow.
That's
She was
cool.
a novice, right?
That's
There's women who bought their own vehicles and gotten started on stuff, imports, domestics, you name it. We have some ladies who've gone on as far as newbies to just get into the welding aspect of it, and they're making furniture, and you know, it's just exposing people to a new skill set. And for some of the ladies, it really has nothing even to do with the work. It's just the confidence building, right? They do this thing and now they're like, oh, that isn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. So now this other thing in my life that I thought was going to be scary, maybe that's not so scary either. So they're taking on bigger challenges in their life. And that's
there's some life experience to it. It's like, why do you go skydiving or take a cooking class or go to the Bondurant school? You know, like maybe you're not going to be a race car driver probably, but maybe you just want to feel better about driving it or just understand the mechanics of it a little bit more, right?
Yeah. And I think for the ladies who have experience, the ones who are professionals in the industry, for them, it's a huge confidence building thing. Like they're so excited about working with other women that they're going back into their lives. And I've watched so many of the women support each other across the country or get inspired to quit their job and start their own business or take their business to a new level or just like really like reinvigorate their career because of that like dose of empowerment, that dose of energy that they get working on the build. So it's kind of a magical thing. It's been really fun to watch.
It's a new outlet for their creativity, I'm sure. And the other thing is that we've seen as an industry, you said you've been doing an all-girls garage for 9 years, but we've seen as an industry, it's just another progression of our industry growing because, guys, we've talked about this on the show, that back when Boyd and I were partners, the metal arts were almost dead. We literally had to bring guys over from Italy, from Sweden to work on cars. And now we've seen such a resurgence of that it's everywhere. And now with people like Bogi who are getting women empowered to find out that, yes, you can work on a car just like a guy. There's no barrier to, you know, what your sex is, that we're seeing. And we're seeing more and more people. And that's where new ideas come from.
I agree. It's proven time and time again that businesses, societies, like everything are stronger when there's diversity, right? How boring is the world if we're all the same? How boring is a company if everybody in it thinks the same way? And it's the same for building vehicles or running shops or running businesses within the automotive industry. When you bring in these different perspectives, it changes things, but I think in a positive way. You get to see just the different ways that people approach things.
Yeah, and actually, I believe our friend Dave Merrick, didn't he appoint a woman lead on the NSX? I apologize for not knowing her name offhand, but that was the lead designer on all that was a woman, was it not?
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Yeah, Dave's got quite a few women in their design area.
Good for them. That's badass because, you know, everything needs a woman's touch.
Okay, so since we have you here, I want to get into some technical questions because you are such a smart, seasoned mechanic, and I know Aaron's going to have some ideas to kick around as well with his project cars, his jelly bean collection of project cars.
I love his jelly bean collection.
Hey man, nothing wrong with jelly beans, okay?
I love
all
tiny
like
cars. I love his tiny cars. Okay,
but I know this has come up before. We're BMW fans, and we've had some E46s. I think almost all of us has had M3s in our days. Why do we see a lot of BMWs and other cars? Of course, they're getting LS swaps because that's the easy swap, but we're not seeing a lot of BMW swapped engines. Like you'll see one creative thing, we'll have like a Ferrari engine swap or a BMW swap. Is there not an easy way to make that happen now? 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I'd be like, it's really complex. But can we take an engine that's been out for 10 or 15 years? Can we take an M5 V8 engine, naturally aspirated engine, and put it into something? Is there salvage yards? Is there computers? Like, what's the way to do that?
Here's the thing. I mean, there's people ask me this all the time, like, can I ... You can do anything you want. How much money do you have? How much time do you have? And how much skill do you have? And are you prepared for the backlash of people saying that what you did is sacrilegious? So I think...
Well, that's the best part. That's the whole motivation for doing this. Yeah.
I agree. I think that's the whole point of it all. But yeah, I think there's a couple of things. Like one, we don't see that more often because there's still an incredible like bias that, yes, put American muscle into a foreign car, but heaven forbid you put a foreign power plant into an American car. Like that's sacrilege, right?
Yeah.
But I think the bigger piece is that I think we're seeing it more so now as technology progresses, not just BMWs, but newer power plants in general. BMW was always ahead of the curve technologically. CAN bus systems and all of that, where all of the modules were talking to each other, much more integrated than a lot of other cars. But now all the cars are doing that. So even putting a newer Honda or a newer Volvo we're running into on our latest SEMA build, it gets more challenging unless you go with a standalone control module. So now you're adding this whole layer of complexity because you want to put a car that has CAN bus communications. You want to put an engine from a CAN bus car into a non-CAN bus car.
Yeah.
You now have to deal with, all right, do I have to break into the brain of the control module, the brain of the car, and tell it we don't have traction control, we don't have ABS, I'm putting a different transmission in there, don't have airbag systems, I don't have all of the rest of these things. So do you either break in, that takes an incredible amount of skill and software and talent and all the rest of it, or do I get a standalone control module and now I'm building a custom wiring harness and I'm programming all of the data that it needs to know how to run this engine. So there's a ton of complexity around it, and I think people are intimidated by it, which is fair. I mean, we put the BMW engine, we put an M5 engine in the 57 Chevy of the first all-female build, and it was not easy.
Well, okay, so what year did you do that?
What's that?
What year did you do that? When did you put the M5
in 2017. Well, yeah.
Yep. 2017. And then what standalone computer did you use for that? Did you have to pull something from the racing industry?
I did. I used a DTA fast module. They're out of the UK.
Because that's certainly a lot more expensive than pulling a Holley fuel injection or fast fuel injection. But there's a lot of debate around that too, because we're using over-the-counter EFI systems, Edelbrock, Holley, fast XFI systems.
Accessible.
Yeah, because we're making them sort of self-tuning and easy to apply on those engines. But even when you start to add something like variable cam timing, it gets really complex. And
or nowadays it's direct injection.
Yeah, direct injection.
Like, there's not a lot of control modules that can standalone modules that can handle direct injection. That's most cars nowadays, right?
And BMW's always been cutting edge in their technology too. So it's probably not easy to hack into those systems or build control modules.
It's out of my skill set, I'll be honest. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of amazing brains that can do that. It's not, I'm not that person.
I
know my limitations.
You said it earlier. You said a lot of people are intimidated. They should be, because
absolutely,
once you get to a certain level, we have like when I did that F-150 for Ford for SEMA, and we put the Ford GT motor. Well, the Ford, I can't remember which it was, but one of them, the chassis spoke to the driveline, and the other, the driveline spoke to the chassis. So we ended up just ripping 300 pounds of wire out of the truck and just starting over from scratch. But even then, we could have only done it with that open prom that Ford furnished to us, which is like a master key, because the average person couldn't do it. There's nothing available. And 5 minutes, guys.
5 minutes. Oh my God.
I'm gonna have to look it up, but I think that B is for Build. I had mentioned before, put an M5 engine in a Z car, and
like
they have a lot of talent
Aaron.
too. Huh?
That's like deja vu. I remember you saying this once before.
Yeah, I feel like I've said it before. I feel like I said a lot of this before. And Bogi, you're scripted. You're amazing.
Thank you.
It's interesting because I was just having a conversation with a buddy, Ray McClellan, who's a tuner that Brad worked with on Car Warriors, and I said, "Hey, I'm doing the Ford Lightning project," and he said, "For what you're doing and how old that truck is, and the computer in that truck, we should go with a standalone EFI. Something like Holly would be fine." And I said, "Okay," and on the Mustang, which is around the same year, he's like, "Yeah, that had a different computer." And he said, if you switch to Holly EFI, he goes, that won't be better, even though the car is 25 years old, because he said the aftermarket computers have on average 10, 12 different parameters that you can adjust for the engine, because they want to make it easy to tune. He goes, even the 93 computer in this car back here up on the poster behind me has 80 or 90 parameters. Wow. And because he's cracked the code and done it so many times and has a catalog of base codes, he was saying he would much rather just tune the stock computer out of that thing for the fully built engine than a standalone EFI. And that's why I was thinking about the BMW stuff, is when is tuning a standalone like racing system EFI computer versus trying to hack up the existing one. I would imagine it comes down to the tuner's experience. One guy may say, I've got 1,000 hours on the BMW computer, let's start there. And somebody else may say, I've done 15 race cars, let's start there. But those
true tuners, like the people who really know that
wizardry,
like it is, I bow down. They are a very small group of people, and I have incredible respect for them. Like, that is not me.
You're all a bunch of computer nerds.
They're geeks. Hey, everybody!
I've got a long tool to tune that carburetor. You know, it's a long.
Yeah.
That's about as far as I go.
Working on old cars and working on new cars is like two totally different careers. It is.
Hey, I have to say, I blew up the blinker module in the Morgan by 2-wire system. Anyway,
you let the smoke out?
I'm not an electrical guy. Yeah, smelled smoke. Now they don't blink, and I'm like, oh, I'll just replace the relay. Where's the relay? It's a module in this thing, and this thing's supposed to be like the simplest, like no-brainer piece of machinery on the planet.
Simple module, though.
Yeah, and it's a module, and I'm going, well, I can't even find a cross-reference. I can't even find the module. So right now, I'm just turning on and off the blinkers. But I mean, it's like,
hey, Aaron, it's an open car. Can't you just go like this and like that?
Yeah, just use the arm.
Just figure it out.
Hey, we got 2 minutes.
Like keep both hands on the wheel, okay?
We have 2 minutes, guys, and I want to make sure that we plug Bogi's. And I'm going from memory here. Tell me if I'm right. Bogi's Garage on social media? Wow.
Yes, sir. Across all platforms. Website.
And bogisgarage.com, right?
Yep.
That's right. We totally have so much more we could talk about. But we're out of time. And everybody, make sure that you check out our Facebook Live here. Not our Facebook Live, but our Zoom Live on Facebook. It's always up there. You can find our audio on iTunes and everywhere, Podcast One, and everywhere you can find the best podcasts. You know, we're always top. So, hey, Bogi, thanks so much for being on this week.
Thank you.
You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
And Bogi, the next time you have to tell me why this happens.
Oh, that happened
your steering wheel
again.
came off.
All right, guys. Thanks,
Can't take them
everybody.
anywhere.
Another edition of Shift and Steer in the books.
Thanks, guys.